So you think you're paying 1% in fees to manage your portfolio. What if you're actually paying 5.5 or 6.5%? Watch this episode of 50 Shades of Money to learn the fees you really are paying. Jim, we have found one of the most confusing parts of finances for retirees is what fees are they actually paying. And they think one thing, and in 99.9% of the cases, it's so far off of what they think that they need to understand the fees they're paying. They need to understand the fees, they need to control and manage them, and most importantly, they need to reduce them. Because once they pay these fees, they're gone. You can never recoup a fee that you've paid, right? It never comes back. So we're a very unusual company. Peak Financial works only with retirees and soon-to-be retirees. So our clients, our new clients, have worked with their current advisor an average of 20 years before they come to us. And they love their current advisor. They think their advisor's so nice. They treat them well. The office treats them well. And I say, that's great. They're probably a nice person. Otherwise, you wouldn't have worked with them for 20 years. But now let's talk about your money. And then they don't understand their money, so they look a little confused at that point. So I ask them first, what are the fees you're paying? And almost every client will answer one of two ways. They'll either say, I'm paying 1% in fees, or they'll say, I don't know, honey, what do you think we're paying in fees? Maybe 1%. Well, both answers mean they have no idea what their true fees are, right, Jim?
Right.
That's what it means. It means they have no idea. So it's true, they might be paying their advisor 1.25%, 1.5% fees, which would be normal, but then the advisor tells them that's the only fee they're paying. And is that true, Jim?
Not true at all, Dan. There's a number of different fees that every client is paying, and one of them could be a money management fee. Advisors that work for large firms, they're licensed. Yes, they can construct a portfolio, but in many cases, they use an outside third-party money manager to actually do the money management. Those fees may not show up on your portfolio statements at all, but typically a money manager is going to add another 0.5% to up to 1% every single year in additional fees, because it's the actual money manager that's actually managing the money. Your advisor is the relationship person between you, the client, and he, the advisor. So these money managers are picking up another fee that the client has no idea they're paying an extra 1% per year. So Dan, what are some other fees that a client might be paying inside their portfolio?
Well, in addition to those first two fees, Jim, most clients we see these days, I'd say 90% of them have large portfolios of mutual funds, and the mutual funds have fees. The client doesn't think they have fees because the fees from the mutual funds do not show up on their statement. And in most cases, we found the advisors have told the clients there's no fees associated with the mutual funds other than the advisory fee. So when we do an analysis, we know, based on data taken out of the New York Times previously, the average mutual fund charges 1.23% per year in fees in addition to the advisor fee, in addition to the money management fee. So now the clients went from 1%, and if they're paying 1% for the money manager fee and 1.23% for average mutual fund fees, we're already up to 3.23% now, more than triple the fees they thought they were paying. They have $1 million portfolio. They just went from $10,000 in fees to over $30,000 in fees. How does that now ultimately affect your value of your portfolio? Jim, are there any things other than a mutual fund fee, which has to be disclosed, but they can hide it in the prospectus? Is there any other type of fee that could affect a client's portfolio?
Yeah, there's a significant fee, and we call this a buried or hidden fee, and that's trading costs inside of the portfolio. The majority of our clients, when they come in, they have a number of mutual funds. These mutual funds are run by a large company. They have money managers at these mutual funds, and they're moving assets around on a daily basis. The average mutual fund trades in and out of every position they have inside that mutual fund about 86%. In other words, if the mutual fund has 1,000 different stocks under their umbrella that they're managing, they will sell 860 of those, 860, and they'll repurchase 860 every single year. Well, somebody on Wall Street,
they do that every year?
Every single year.
So they sell 860 and then they buy 860?
That's exactly right. And that turnover rate causes a trading cost, because they don't do that within the mutual fund. Somebody on Wall Street does that. It's called a trader. And these traders don't work for free, Dan. Dan, the average cost for trading costs inside the mutual fund nationally is 1.44%. And that 1.44% is a substantial drag on a client's return on investment. So for example, this year, if the market goes up 1.44% and you're in the S&P 500 in an index with a mutual fund, you might not make any money at all, because that 1.44% gets taken out before you see your rate of returns on your statements. Dan, is there any other fees that a client potentially might pay to have their money managed?
Yes, Jim. It's more of an opportunity cost or opportunity lost. Because what happens in a mutual fund is they have to keep a certain percentage of that mutual fund in cash. They might keep 5% of the mutual fund in cash because if you as a consumer want your money back, they have to give your money back really quickly. And if they hold this money in cash, they're only going to be earning a very low rate of return, kind of like what you can earn in the bank, 0.01, 0.02, very low rates of return, liquid money. But they get to charge you, the mutual fund companies get to charge you fees on the entire portfolio, including the part that's in cash. So what if they're charging you 3% in fees on 5% of the portfolio that's only earning 0.01? Are you getting ahead or falling behind? Falling behind on an average annual rate of 0.83%. So that's an additional opportunity cost that could happen. So Jim, if the client, the poor client out there, the poor retiree out there that's listening to this video, they think they're paying 1% in fees. What could the total fees they're paying right now on their assets really be? What could the total fees be?
Well, Dan, if you add up the fees that we just talked about, they're paying 1% to the financial advisor, for example. They're paying another 1% potentially to a money manager. They're paying 1.44% per year for the trading costs inside the mutual fund. They're paying 83 basis points, or 0.8% approximately, to the cash drag on the portfolio, as you explained.
And the 1.23% just for mutual fund costs.
Just mutual fund cost. You add all that up to Dan, and it comes to 5.5%.
5.5%?
Yep, 5.5%.
Per year?
And we see this daily. A client comes in, they think they're paying 1%, and we show them they're paying 5.5%. It actually blows them away. And then they realize, Dan, no wonder the market got 13% and I only got 7% last year. Why did that happen? That is why it happened. Dan, let me ask you another question. Is there any other potential hidden fees that a client might see inside of their portfolio?
Jim, there's one that we see in about 40% of the clients we deal with. And those clients come in, we review their portfolio, and they don't have a managed portfolio, they have a variable annuity. And unfortunately, with the variable annuities, the cost could be even higher than that 5.5. We've seen costs per year as high as 6.5% in the variable annuities, and the client had no idea. It was never disclosed to them. They could be losing 6.5% per year. So if you're paying 6.5% per year, how could you ever really make money over the long haul when we know the market for the last 20 years has averaged less than 3%? Very, very, very difficult when it comes to that. So with fees, Jim, what's the most important thing that we focus to make sure retirees are successful?
Well, the focus is on day one, we do a full analysis of their entire portfolio so we can demonstrate exactly what these fees are. We do that because we subscribe to outside resources to allow us to do this. This comes from third-party companies, research firms. It's not our data. It's validated with factual information. We can actually do this for every single client. It's the baseline of all of our planning. We have to understand where you're at, the risk you're taking, the fees you're paying before we can even start on the financial planning side of it. So it's a process on our side. We don't charge our clients for that. It typically takes 8 to 10 hours of professional time to do this research for us, for the client. But when we demonstrate to the client, it actually is amazing to see now all of a sudden they want to understand how much the fees are costing in their rate of return and their retirement success.
When they come in, they don't have anything in writing that says the fees that they're actually paying. They just have the advisor telling them 1%, 1%, and it's not true. When they leave, not only will they know the current fees they're paying currently on their portfolio, but any portfolio we design, we actually put the fees you're paying in writing. We put your direct fees, your indirect fees, fees that are potentially hidden, we put it all in writing so you know exactly what you're paying. That's the only way you can understand, control, manage, and ultimately reduce your fees.
So my question to you, if you're watching this episode right now, do you really know the fees you're paying?
If you like this video and you'd like to learn more about how you can set up your own second opinion to maximize your financial security, we've just created a brand new training video. Click the link below and we'll send it out to you right away.